And welcome to Undercover, where we're catching up with Tori Amos, and great to have you back down here again.
Thank you.
You've been a bit of a regular visitor down this way.
Well, I love it here, and my daughter loves it. She's with me.
Oh, you
She
brought the family.
loves it.
Great
Oh,
stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Husband has no choice because, he's one of my work slaves.
Okay, good to see. Good to
Yes.
see. That's the way to keep it. Yeah. But how old is she now?
She is 9, just 9 in September.
Is she musical?
Do you know, this is the thing. The shower has taught us that she's very musical.
Uh-huh.
In her piano lessons, however, it's a different story. But in the shower, she's singing. This voice is coming out of her. You're thinking Aretha Franklin's in there, or Christina
Aguilera, yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
That's interesting because you basically jumped out of the womb and went straight to the piano, didn't you?
I did. And so it's been, as she says, Mommy, it's a little unfair that you say I'm not good at piano because I might be good, but just because I'm not learning what the teacher's teaching me doesn't mean that I couldn't learn other things. So she's deciding to pick up songs that she wants to learn.
Because you were like 2 years old, weren't you, when you sort of first started playing around on the piano?
Yes, and that's why, Tash has been good to say, look, just because I'm 9 doesn't mean I'm a failure and it's over for me yet. And I'll say, no, you're right, but the clock's ticking. She'll laugh at me.
Yeah, well, I guess for you, starting at 2 years, you could now officially claim 40 years in the business.
That's 44.
44 years in the business.
44 years. Yeah. I was at the conservatory when I was 5 training. And I think when you're 5 years old and you're training, the positive side of that is it does get into your vocabulary. Mm-hmm. And that was a huge part, I think, of making the seasonal record that my classical training kicked in.
Because you've had an amazing prolific period, haven't you, in the last 12 months and then sort of heading into the new year. We had the Abnormally Attracted to Sin album, then we had Midwinter Graces, and in 2010 there's the Light Princess on the way as well.
When you say that to me, I'm very blessed that the muses don't seem to be angry with me yet, and I leave wine for them everywhere I go. I never finish totally. Well, maybe in a restaurant, I can hear maitre d's all over the world saying, yeah, that hussy finishes her wine. But I do leave little presents for the muse, thinking, keep remembering me and your musical thoughts. And she does.
Oh, that's good to hear too. The Abnormally album, you seem revitalised with that. You just signed to a new label. Was that all part of the process of getting a new label, a whole new team around you, I guess, working for the record that gave you the creative spurt on with that album?
Well, that's a good question. I think because Doug Morris, who is chairman of Universal worldwide, he's 70 now, and he is my mentor. He broke Little Earthquakes. He was chairman of Atlantic Records in the late 80s, early 90s. So I've been with Doug, since I can remember. For my recording life, I've been with him. And being with somebody that was there as a believer does something to you once you've been in the business for as long as I have. And I think it's because before I was a proven touring act and recording artist, he was there. And therefore, once I left the evil empire, mentioning no names, it was really great when he opened his door to me. I was not planning on going to a major again, and I was actually setting up my own label and going to distribute through Universal. And he said, no, Tori, you come be with me, and you can have as much independence as you want, but let's work together because we always work together so well. And he brought in Monty Littman, who's my day-to-day guy, and we bounce off ideas with each other, and we have a really good relationship.
Because then, we've gone from one album into Midwinter Graces, and, this is your first Christmas record.
Can you believe it?
Yeah.
My dad has been harping on about me doing this since I was 2.
Wow. Finally got his wish.
He did, but it's a little different than he thought it would be. We talked about it. I said, Dad, I can't do these carols as they've been written because some of the beliefs are really, I think, they subjugate women. And there's so many mothers that are a part of the sexual act. In order to be a mother, unless you're in the Christian story, you do certain things to become a mom. And I don't want any of that shaming in the work I do. And he said, well, you need to do what Charles Wesley did. And I said, and what's that? And he said, well, he took parts of music that he liked and he put Christology to it. So you'll take what you like and put your own ideology to it. And I said, well, thanks, Dad, for the approval before I start, because that's what I have to do.
Because it's a total reconstruction of Christmas songs. It's like reinventing what the Christmas album is, isn't it?
Well, without, I hope, disregarding the beauty of the originals. I tried to keep what I think, well, that I loved from the originals. But what people might not realize, and this is really important, is that a lot of the carols you hear came from, a lot of them were drinking songs or sea shanties before Christian lyrics were put to them. And as I started researching about where each carol came from, a lot of times they'll say to you in the Oxford Book of Carols, the first Noel, they really believe the melody was a famous quote-unquote pop song of the time, a pub song, a sea shanty. And the Christians decided, well, let's put some, Christian lyrics to this. And that's how that song came about.
Wow. What about the Light Princess that we talked about? What's that all about?
That is one of the most challenging things I have ever, probably it is the most challenging thing that I've ever taken on board. I was told that composing a musical was a glorious nightmare. And they're not kidding. For it to be good, for the script and the songs to be integrated, it's incredibly challenging, because when they rewrite a scene, which happens all the time, then you have to rewrite the music in most cases because the song doesn't work for the scene anymore. So we're in our second draft, and I guess I've spent more time composing for this work than any other work in my life.
So will we see this in 2010?
We are in a workshop in the spring, a 3-week workshop, working it through. So the chances of it being up and running in 2010, knowing the timeline, I'd say to you, even if it gets the green light, it would be 2011.